There are countless depictions of grief in film and television, but there's one series that captures this emotional journey with such raw authenticity that it's become the definitive example in my mind. The series in question is Vinland Saga, and through its protagonist, Thorfinn, I witnessed the most visceral and honest portrayal of grief I've ever experienced, even though I haven't lost anybody yet. So before we dive deeper, we need some context. Thorfinn grew up admiring his father Thors, a legendary warrior who had abandoned violence to live a peaceful life with his family. Despite his peaceful ways, Thors was betrayed and killed by the mercenary leader called Askeladd when Thorfinn was just a kid. And what makes this moment particularly crushing is that Thorfinn witnessed his father's death firsthand, and in the immediate aftermath, you see Thorfinn enters the first stage of grief. Denial. Despite watching Thor's fall before his very eyes, Thorfinn refuses to process this reality. It's not that he doesn't believe his father's dead, it's just that he denies the finality of it. He convinces himself that by killing Askeladd, he's going to restore the balance in his world, as if vengeance could fill in the void that his father left behind. And this denial manifests as a singular obsession: kill Askeladd at all cost. He doesn't allow himself to properly mourn because to do so would mean accepting his father is truly gone forever. Instead, he clings to this delusion that justice will heal his wounds. It's a perfect illustration of how denial and grief isn't always about refusing to believe what happens, but rather refusing to accept its permanence and meaning. Anger. As the series progresses, Thorfinn's denial transforms into consuming rage. He joins Askeladd's band of mercenaries for the sole purpose of earning the right to duel him. But in the process, he becomes the very thing his father rejected: a killer. The irony is devastating. Thorfinn becomes a renowned warrior by committing atrocities, all the while telling himself it's in the name of avenging his peaceful father. His anger isn't just directed at Askeladd, though that's its primary target. It's directed at the world that took his father, at the unfairness of life, and perhaps at himself for being powerless to prevent his father's death. The anger blinds him to everything else: morality, relationship, joy, all sacrificed at the altar of revenge. And what makes Vinland Saga's portrayal so powerful is that it doesn't romanticize his anger. Instead, it shows how destructive it is, not just others, but to Thorfinn himself. He becomes hollow, a weapon rather than a person, destroying himself in the process of trying to destroy another. It's a lesson in how anger as a stage of grief, while natural, can consume us completely if we let it define us. Bargaining. On Thorfinn's journey, it's subtle but profound. For years, he makes a deal with himself. If he can just become strong enough, he can just defeat Askeladd in a fair duel. Then somehow justice will be served and his pain is gonna go away. And each duel he demanded from Askeladd is a form of bargaining. Just give me this chance and I'm going to prove my worth. And what's heartbreaking is that even when these duels are granted, they never satisfy. Thorfinn loses each time, but even if he had won, it wouldn't have brought back his father or healed his wounded soul. And this is the cruel truth of bargaining in grief. You negotiate with reality, making deals that can never truly be fulfilled, all because what you've lost can't be regained. And the ultimate bargain comes when Askeladd is killed, not by Thorfinn, but by another hand entirely. All these years of preparation, all of those promises Thorfinn has made to himself, they all become meaningless in an instant. It's a devastating moment that forces Thorfinn to confront the futility of his bargaining. Depression. With his purpose violently stripped away, Thorfinn enters a profound depression. Sold into slavery after Askeladd's death, he becomes an empty shell of a human being. Working mindlessly in the field with no will to live or die. He's simply there, existing. And this period in Thorfinn's life is perhaps the most difficult to watch because it depicts depression without unflinching honesty. There's no dramatic sobbing or poetic speeches about his pain. Instead, you just see a quiet devastation of a spirit broken, not by loss, but by a realization that his response to his loss was misguided. His mourning not only to his father, but also the years he wasted chasing vengeance. What Vinland Saga captures brilliantly here is that the depression in grief isn't just sadness, it's an existential crisis. It forces you to question everything you thought we knew about Thorfinn. For him, this means confronting the harsh truth that he betrayed his father's values while claiming to honor him. It's a realization that nearly destroys him completely. Acceptance. It took one slave with the name of Einar, someone who shows him kindness without expectation, for Thorfinn to begin his journey towards acceptance. Slowly, painfully, Thorfinn starts to see that there might be another way to live. He begins to remember his father's true values, not as a warrior, but as a man of peace who believed in building rather than destroying. Acceptance doesn't come suddenly. It's a gradual awakening. Thorfinn begins to envision a new purpose, creating a peaceful land where people can live without fear. A Vinland, free from the cycle of violence that consumed his youth. This isn't about forgetting his father or dismissing his pain. It's about honoring Thor's in a way that truly reflects who he was. And what makes this portrayal of acceptance powerful is that it doesn't erase the previous stages or suggest that Thorfinn is over his grief. Rather, he has learned to carry it differently. His father's death will always be a part of him, but it's no longer the only thing that defines him. He's found a way to move forward without leaving his father behind, incorporating his loss into a new understanding of who he is and wants to become. Grief is one of the most universal human experiences, yet we often struggle to talk about it honestly. We want it to be neat, linear, with a clear beginning and end, but as Thorfinn's journey shows you, real grief is messy. It's not linear and transformative. It doesn't just change how you feel, it changes who you are. Sometimes in life, we find ourselves standing at a grave of our old dreams, old selves. It's tempting in those moments to cling to what was, to deny that anything has changed. It's easier to rage against reality than to accept it. It's comforting to make bargains with fate, even knowing they're empty promises. Sometimes the weight of the truth is so heavy that all we can do is surrender to the darkness for a while. But if we're brave enough to move through each stage, not rushing, not judging ourselves for how we grieve, we might emerge on the other side, not unchanged, but transformed. But not without pain, with a deeper capacity for joy, because we understand how precious and fleeting life truly is. Thorfinn's story reminded me that grief isn't something to overcome, it's something to integrate. It becomes a part of your story, shaping who you are and who you choose to become. And in that choice lies your power as a human and your hope. So with that, if you wouldn't mind, subscribe to the channel and have a nice day.